Afternoon, we really have I'm excited about this message. Christmas, we have just entered the Christmas season when December starts. Black Friday is behind us. Thanksgiving is gone. And the next thing on our calendars is the largest, we could say the largest holiday of the year is Christmas. Unfortunately, Christmas in our society has lost some of its significance. It has become a time of a holiday just for the sake of a holiday, a time when we buy gifts and give gifts, and there's often more pressure, more depression in Christmas than any other holiday because of what it's become. When actually it's not a time of pressure. It's not even a time that the pressure is on us to be giving gifts to people. But actually it's a time of really rejoicing about the gift that God has given to us. Like that's what Christmas is really about. I'd like you, if you would, turn to Isaiah chapter 40. Isaiah is a prophet who spoke to the people of Israel about 715 years before Christ, or before the common era, as we have changed it to. Isaiah chapter 40, and there are some important things. If you don't have a habit of bringing a Bible, I would encourage you to get into that habit. It makes service a lot more interesting when you're reading the Bible along with us. Okay, Isaiah chapter 40. We're going to see something here about the character of God that is especially revealed at Christmas. If we look at verse 22. Okay, this is speaking of God, okay? We are talking about God. It is He that sits upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in, that brings the princes to nothing. He makes the judges of the earth as emptiness. Yea, they shall not be planted, yea, they shall not be sown, yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth, and He shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. To whom then will you liken me, or shall I be equal to, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who has created these things, that brings out the host by their number. He calls them all by names by the greatness of His might, for that He is strong in power, no one faileth. Wow, that's a big God. Go to Isaiah 46, we're just going to add one more thing to His character that is revealed here. Isaiah chapter 46, starting in verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am God. There is none else. There is none else. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executes my counsel from a far country. Yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it, I also will do it. This ravenous bird from the east is King Cyrus, who would not be born until 250 years later. What God is declaring here in these verses is that He is the God who works in all of history. I want to juxtaposition, if I could, or I want to contrast current events and eternal events. The way that when we flick on the television, we see, oh, there was a new president elected in Congo today, and blah, 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 and there was a fire in downtown Baltimore today, and 3 people were injured in that fire and went to the hospital. There, newsflash: the Ravens lost to the Chicago Bears 21-7 today. Oh no! I hope that's not a current event. No, we hear current events. Those are things that kind of come, and it's like a snapshot, and then it goes away. The reason that man can't quite connect what events really mean is because man is sitting in a place that's very finite. I don't know anything about the Congo. I'm not there. I happened to speak to a guy yesterday. Now I understand more about it. But that current event of a new president doesn't really mean anything to me. But these Bible verses say they do mean something. And they mean something that is global. Everything that happens, every current event on our news screen, everything has an effect because God is actually a God of the entire historical plan. That's what the Scripture is written for. A person who knows the Bible is a person who understands what's happening in Europe right now. A person who knows the Bible is the person who understands what's happening in Israel right now. A person who knows the Bible understands really what's happening in America right now also. Where we are in eternal history, not just where we are in current events. You know, we all took history class. It was this guy, this date, this war, this place, this result, this economy, this culture, this people, this nation, this king, etc., etc. And we memorized those. And when you really take a good look, take a step back and look at it, you say, I have no idea why any of that is happening. I have no idea why Hitler came. I have no idea why those 4 million, 6 million Jews were killed. I think the total death toll in the Second World War was in the tens of millions, isn't it? Anybody know? Anyway, why? Lord, why? And we ask the questions why because we aren't big enough to have the answer. But when you think about Christmas, Jesus Christ, if you look at the Scripture, the whole Scripture, Revelation 19:3 says that He is the Spirit of prophecy. That this book is actually, from beginning to end, talks about Him. And the prophecies of the Old Testament are amazing that describe Him. And there's a verse in Galatians 4:4 that says that it was in the fullness of time that God sent His Son. This word fullness is the word that means completeness, or it means the maturity of time. In other words, the time, the place of Christ's birth was something that was very specifically chosen by God when He was to come. And I want to kind of draw a picture of what the world was like when Jesus came. And in that picture, we see the hand of God that made it the exact right time for Him to send His Son. So this is actually what we call providence, right? This providence of God is that God actually reaches down and organizes in which is impossible for us to imagine because the earth is so huge and there's so many details in it. But for example, I was counseling yesterday this guy. This guy has a bad relationship with a girl that he never should have started. She's married. And I was counseling him. And I told him, you know, really, this relationship from the beginning was wrong. It was destructive from the beginning. It's not only destroying your life, but it's also destroying her relationship with her husband. If she wants to get a divorce, she can get a divorce. You need to leave her alone. If she wants to leave him and she's a single person, then you can be with a single person. But if she doesn't want to leave him, then let her stay with him. Get out of the relationship. While I was speaking to him, this girl, I didn't know, actually, this guy is actually not from this country, so this woman was not even speaking English when she was writing this email. But on the other side of the planet, at the same time that I was counseling him, she was on the other side of the planet typing an email to him. When he got home, right after speaking to me, he opened the email, and her email was, our relationship has been nothing but destructive from the beginning. It has destroyed him, you, and it is destroying me. Leave me alone. And if I want to leave him, I will leave him on my own. And she quoted me. What are the chances of that happening? It's impossible that she would be saying that. And the beauty of it is that because of the providence of God in that situation, this young man realized what God wanted him to do, not what I wanted him to do, because who cares? It's not about me trying to tell people, but it's about God being in our lives. And just a small example of what we call providence. Okay, let's think about the world at Jesus' time. What civilizations were present at Jesus' time? We know that Jesus was born into the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was, at that time, the empire that controlled the entire, what they called civilized world, although we might not call it civilized at this point, right? But it was the civilized world. It was the center of commerce. It was the center of power in the entire world, was the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire was on the planet. At the same time, though, there was the Han Dynasty in China, which was a dynasty that existed some thousands of years, actually. That dynasty came and went over a long period of time. In India, there was the Kushan Empire. In Persia, the Parthian Empire. So then there were tribes. There were tribal people, the Germanic tribes in Northern Europe, and then also in Africa there were tribes. So these are the civilizations that were present. What religions were present at the time of Jesus? It's interesting to think about what religions were actually there already on the face of the earth. And Buddhism was in about 500 years BCE, and then Hinduism is even older than that, some 750 BCE. Taoism in China, animism, which is the worship of spirits, animal spirits, etc. In Africa, North and South America, the Mayan culture was happening in South America. The Zoroastrianism in Persia, emperor worship, which we know in Roman Empire, Greek mythology, and then mystery religions. These religions were already there. There was plenty of religions. The Lord didn't come into a place that was void of religions. So God came into a very diverse world. Let's think for a minute. What is a religion? But a religion answers the question, who am I? Right? It answers the identity question. A religion answers your identity question, who am I? And who am I has three elements. Where did I come from? What is my origin? Where am I going? What is my destiny? So origin, destiny, and then what is my goal? Why am I here? Which is purpose. So origin, destiny, and purpose. Religions are trying to define that for us. Even religions like atheism, which is a religion because it takes more faith to be an atheist than it takes to be a Christian. But even atheism is trying to answer those questions. Where did I come from? I came from nowhere, from pure chance, like I'm an accident. Where am I going? I'm going nowhere. I'm a biological machine. When the machine dies, it dies. And what is my purpose? I have no real purpose except what I want to do. And hopefully that doesn't hurt society. Otherwise, society has the right to lock me up. Every one of these religions tries to answer those questions, and primarily, who am I? And we could see from the condition of the planet when Jesus came that these questions were not being properly answered. There was one religion, actually, when he came, that properly defined these things. It was the Jewish faith, or Judaism. It was the only faith on the planet at the time that actually its origin was God himself. That God, one person said, I have a quote here, it sounds really good, but actually it's not. Could this statement be true? Suppose that each of the major religions was founded and sparked through divine revelation. Suppose that the fundamental truths that form the basis and foundation of these religions are true. After all, these religions have existed for thousands of years. Each in its own way has stood the test of time. Through the generations, they have brought hope, inspiration, revelation, and moral order to their given societies. Could that be true? Could that statement be true? The answer is no, that is not true. And the proof is in the pudding. Religions around the world, pagan religions, do not bring order. Have you been to Africa lately? Have you been to Africa? Africa is a crazy place. It's a really crazy place. There's dictatorships over most of it. There are tribes killing tribes. There is no order, and it's because they worship all kinds of spirits, animal spirits. They're afraid of the water. They're afraid of the ocean. They're afraid of this. They're afraid of that. They think that disease comes from some spirit, when disease comes from the fact that they're drinking the water that the people upstream just pooped in. Yeah. There's not order, and there's no inspiration. There is no revelation. It's a controlling, deceitful religion. It's actually not a religion at all, because they live in fear every single day. I studied the American Indians, and people like to think that the American Indians lived in some peaceful habitation with nature. American Indians did not. They were controlled by a guy who was the witch doctor. And in Africa, he's called a fetish. He is the guy who controls everybody. Everybody in the tribe is controlled by him. He has all the spiritual power. He can put curses on people, and he can take curses off of people. He is a proud, power-hungry person. Everybody is afraid of him. Our American Indians had this kind of fear also. There was the order, the hope of the future did not exist amongst these animist tribes. The idea that there is a basic truth running in every religion is just not true, except that man needs something. That's true. Man needs something. Man doesn't know who he is. That's true. But when you come down to answering man's questions, the reason Christ came is because of the condition of the world. And God waited for it to get to a certain condition before he came. A very specific situation. Okay, so, interesting about the population. The population of the world when Jesus actually was born was somewhere between 100 and 200 million people in the entire world, including these other civilizations that I spoke about. The world was very unpopulated at 2000, or at 0 or 3, actually. He was born in 3 BCE. When you think about evolution and what the evolutionists try to tell us, if you would study population growth on our planet, you would see that everybody starts their studies at about 10,000 BCE. They don't start, when they say that the first man appeared on our planet at like, how many millions of 250 million years before now or something, some incredible amount of years, you would think, gosh, why would the population of the entire planet only be 250 million years later, it would only be 100 million people?